I got a few things for free last year from Texas Instruments. A stepper motor, the driver for that stepper motor and a Hercules launchpad. And I was also supposed to get a firmware for that combination, because I wanted to learn how I could use the high-end timer of the Hercules to work with a stepper motor and to drive it with a smooth profile so that it doesn't shock and that it launches smoothly until it gets up to speed. Unfortunately, I never got that firmware, so now I'm trying to learn myself how to control this driver and how to control the motor. I'm a bit lucky because I have an MSP430 microcontroller and there is an example firmware for that one and this driver, so I can test it. The example comes with firmware for the MSP430 and an application on your computer. And in that application you can set the profile, like the ramp up and the ramp down profile, the speed, the granularity of the steps if you want to have a full step up to 1/256 of a step. And this application allows me to probe what's happening with that driver, and also to probe the pins going to the motor and the pins coming from the MSP430 timer, so that I can see what's really happening there.
And this is the GUI that comes with the application. You can set all the stepping parameters here and then either execute them here or on the registers tab see what the effect is, which registers are set with what values. And that helps a lot when you're trying to find a good profile. You can test it out here real time, see what's happening, and then apply those settings in the firmware. On the control screen we can set how many steps the motor takes per pulse, and that can go from a full step to 1/256th of a step. So we have good control on the granularity. I'm keeping it full step at the moment. These two values here, the torque and the gain, have to be adapted to the specifications of your motor, and the current at full power for my motor is 1 amp, so this is good. If I then press set all, these settings are sent to the motor controller via SPI, and you can see them on the register screen. If I then click on the start stop, it would run the motor according to this graph here, according to this profile. But first of all we have to take it out of sleep. I don't know if you can see it, but I can turn the motor very easily with my hand now, because there is no current on the coils of the motor. But when I take the driver out of sleep, you will see that my power supply will consume more than half an amp and that it's impossible to rotate the motor. I'm going to do that now. I've put it to sleep. You see here 600 milliamps current, and it's really impossible. The motor rotates as a block, but I can't turn the shaft. Let's now click on the start stop speed profile and you'll see that the motor starts spinning according to the graph here, according to the profile. There we go. If I click again, it will slow down according to this profile. With the bottom section here, I can set the number of steps that I want the motor to take, and we have chosen full steps. So in this case, it would perform 1024 full steps. It also tries to run according to this graph, but not perfectly. So if I would now say it as a 1/8 step and apply this and press this button, it will do 1024 1/8 steps. So let's have a look. It's more refined now, it's much slower, but it's also a bit jerky. The motor is getting fairly hot in the brake mode, so when I press the sleep button again here and put the driver into sleep, we will see that it doesn't consume any current, and again I can easily return the shaft. Other options in the firmware are to set the direction. So if I click the button here and I let it turn 1024 steps, it will go and take it out of sleep. It will go the other way around, or I can take steps manually here. Each click is a step, but because I've taken 1/8 steps, you won't see every step here. So let's move it to full step, apply, click the button, and you will see it take one of its 200 steps every time I click the button here. Great software. It will help me a lot to find the right profile for my motor and help me build the firmware for this Hercules launchpad. And for those playing along at home, this is the graph of the motor when it's in stall mode, when it's running, and when there is no current. And at this point I have shut down my power supply.